My name is Matthew Graham. I'm a writer and director, and I mostly right now stick with short films. Since 2007 I've been making short films. Have yet to make a feature film, but yeah, getting slowly there. Hopefully in a couple more years I think I'll be ready. I got to where I am by working extremely hard, by working with good DOPs, and basically reading a hell of a lot and studying film, as you know, most directors will probably tell you that's what they end up doing. No, I don't work in the industry, not full time. I have a very tolerant girlfriend who basically, lets me get away with a certain amount of work. It is like having a second job. It is, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, especially when it's coming up to a shoot. A lot of preparation, pre-production, and you spend a lot of stressful nights. People drop out at the last minute. So yeah, as a director, I think here in Australia as well, you tend to be a bit of a pseudo-producer as well, because it is your baby, and so you tend to wear a lot of hats. My journey into film started with many years ago when I was a kid. Loved films, watched them all as a young boy, watching American Werewolf in London and Alien, and realizing that I thought that that was for a different breed of people. You know, I didn't know what directors did. I didn't understand how films get made, but I realized that later on in life I did an animation course and realized that I'm a crap animator, but what I did love was telling stories, and that's where I started to look at film as a artistic way of telling stories. My first short film was Billy. It was terrifying. I didn't know anything. I literally was on set with 20 other people staring at me, basically asking me, what's next, Chief? And I had no idea. I was sweating bullets. It was terrible, but I managed to get through it. And and you do survive. I know for every first-time director, it's absolutely terrifying. After that, I think with every sort of, even with short films, feature films, I'm sure everyone thinks that it's going to be amazing, it's going to change the world, and you realize that it's the first step, and that you've got a hell of a lot to learn. The next step for me was realizing that where I didn't have, where I was missing skills, and understanding that being a director is a lot of different things, and gaining strength in certain areas. Communication was one, and realizing that what each person's role is to do and how to lean on them and how to let them do their job without interfering too much with it. How have I progressed? Slowly but surely. I think that sometimes I'm getting more confident, I feel. As probably most directors will tell you, that with each one you get a little bit better at recognizing where your role is and what you need to do and how to push the crew and get what you want, and also to keep thinking about the story. I think that's one thing when the heat is on, the pressure is all on, is to try and remind yourself what you're trying to actually tell, and that can get lost in the moment, and trying to keep on that even keel. Difficulties is obviously finance. As everyone knows, they still take a little bit of money to make. I think it's an overcrowded market. I think there's a lot of us making films. I think everybody now with new cameras, I think everyone sort of feels like they can have a crack, which is great, which is wonderful that everyone does. I just think it's becoming it's becoming tougher. Short films, where do they sit? For me, I'd say that they're a great way for me to test myself, to tell a little story, obviously in a short period of time, to learn, basically. I don't know if there's necessarily a great market for them. Some people say that there are. I just think it can be a great show reel for you, and again, I think it's just a fabulous way to learn. Yes, my goal is to, I think personally feel like when I'm comfortable to make my first feature film, I think I don't want to rush into it. I think it's so easy to go and do that and not be quite ready for it all. And some say you have one shot at it. I'm not sure about that one, but I want to be pretty darn sure I know what I'm doing when I go in there. The film industry is hard. Long-term goals. Yeah, I certainly do struggle with that. I think I'd like to make at least one feature film and really test myself and see if I've got the mettle. I think it is a very tough industry here in Australia. There's not a lot going on. I do have people that I met in the US, and they always say you've really got to get yourself to LA. That's the only way that you'll kind of make inroads if you're serious about film. Seems to be the common theme is get yourself over there and just slog it out. It is very daunting to sort of think that you can spend 10, 15 years at this and potentially go nowhere, or just make a half decent living. That's certainly tough. Balance, it is a hard sort of balance, keeping it all together. I mean, I think filmmaking is part passion, part craziness. We do some of this sort of stuff. My girlfriend's sometimes like, wow, why you guys want to do this to yourselves? There's no kind of red carpet at the end of it all, but I guess we're passionate about it and we just keep going at it and don't always know why. I think it's sometimes when you see that cut come together and you've created this story out of nothing, you've almost given birth to something that I kind of think, yeah, that's why we just, we keep going. I keep trying to balance it with my other chaotic life, I guess, I think, there's certainly some high points. I think sometimes when you get the film done, when you wrap, there's that great moment where you go, wow, I actually got this thing in the can, considering what led up to it. That's certainly a high point for me at times. I think when Rosie and me got an award, cinematography award in Australia, that was also a great highlight for the film. And I think, I guess just getting through the film always is the high points, because if anyone knows what this industry is like, it's, that is just, it's a reward enough to get that far. And also for me to actually see that it's actually turned out to be a good film, a short film in the first place also is a great point when you're shooting and you don't know if that's all going to work, and suddenly you do it and it does actually work. That's a high point. I think the low points for me, is when you get rejection from film festivals, because it's like almost having a child. You love your child, you want it to do well, and when it gets rejected, I think that's probably the low points for me, is when, no one loves it quite like you do. Working full-time and not in the film industry, that's sort of hard, because it's like having two different foots in different camps. You kind of feel like, a few people have sort of said, you really need to, make that transition. If you really want to be taken serious, you have to kind of let this other world go. And I think that's the hard part. It's kind of going, hey, I've got this steady income, but, here's this other sort of life that I don't know about. I don't know what's over there, and am I ready for that life? That uncertainty, I guess, of, what's, of the film industry. That means that I have to one day finally make a decision about what life do I want to live, and is it going to be about films, and am I going to give it 100%? And right now I'm kind of giving it 70%, but with 30% back in the other camp, and I think, I finally have to make a decision, I think, next year about me doing it for real.